Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to unpack the story of an artifact that is, quite honestly, mind-bending. We're talking about an object that completely shatters our conventional timeline of technological history. So, prepare to have basically everything you thought you knew about the ancient world challenged. Okay, let's dive into this because I want you to genuinely picture the absolute shock of finding a computer inside a shipwreck from 2 millennia ago. When we think of 100 BCE, right, we picture togas, gladiators, maybe horse-drawn chariots. We definitely do not picture highly complex machinery packed with dozens of precision gears. Yet, that is exactly what happened here, and it's led some to wonder if history is just missing an entire highly advanced chapter. Part 1. The Anomaly. So let's transport ourselves back to the year 1901. A crew of Greek sponge divers is exploring a shipwreck near this tiny island called Antikythera. Now, they were expecting the usual ancient haul, marble statues, gold jewelry, maybe some pottery. But instead, they pull up this heavily corroded greenish lump of bronze. At first glance, it honestly just looked like a weird rock from the ocean floor. But then, archaeologists started cleaning it. And as they carefully chipped away centuries of oceanic crust, they found something literally impossible. Over 30 precision-cut bronze gears hidden inside. Not one, not five, but over 30. The shockwaves this sent through the historical community, well, it cannot be overstated. This single rusted object would soon become known globally as the Antikythera Mechanism. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why it shocked everyone. Experts eventually dated the construction of this mechanism to roughly 100 BCE. Now, ancient civilizations were brilliant, obviously. They built massive ships and stunning temples. But gear systems of this sheer complexity, they flat out weren't supposed to exist yet. The next time machines with comparable gear complexity would appear in Europe wouldn't be for over 1,000 years. I absolutely love this quote because it hits the nail on the head. Imagine finding an iPhone inside a medieval castle. It completely subverts our expectations. It's just a massive, inexplicable anachronism. Finding a machine of this caliber from ancient Greece is literally like finding modern tech buried in the Dark Ages. It just did not compute with the established historical narrative. Part 2. Decoding the machine. For decades, this thing was a total mystery. It just sat in a museum, this frustrating enigma. It wasn't until modern CT scans were used on that lump of bronze that researchers could finally see the hidden internal gears and, incredibly, read these tiny, super-faded inscriptions etched into the surface. Now, what's really interesting about all of this is what those scans revealed. It was breathtaking. The device could predict solar and lunar eclipses. It tracked moon phases and the positions of known planets. It even calculated the dates for the ancient Olympic Games. All an ancient user had to do was turn this little hand crank on the side, and those internal gears would physically simulate the incredibly complex movements of the heavens. Because of this staggering capability, many historians now confidently call the Antikythera Mechanism the world's first known analog computer. And it's crucial to emphasize the analog part here. It wasn't using electricity or silicon microchips, right? It was calculating these immensely complex astronomical events entirely mechanically, just through the physical, mathematical ratios of its spinning gears. Part 3. Where are the others? This whole thing builds into this massive historical detective story. And honestly, this is where it gets truly fascinating, and maybe a little haunting. If ancient Greek engineers had the genius to build something this advanced, where is the rest of their tech? We haven't found any ancient factories for these things. No instruction manuals, no workshops, no earlier, clunkier versions. Just this single, lonely machine. Well, historians have a couple of practical theories for this glaring anomaly. On one hand, maybe there actually were many of these devices. But since they were made of bronze, which was incredibly valuable back then, especially during wartime, they were likely melted down over the centuries to make swords or coins. On the other hand, the knowledge to build them might have simply been lost. After wars, political upheaval, and the collapse of civilizations, the specialized engineering required to craft this machine just vanished. Part 4. Myths and Realities. Now, because human nature totally abhors a vacuum of information, this artifact has attracted a ton of wild speculation. Some people argue it must have come from a forgotten advanced civilization like Atlantis, or you guessed it, extraterrestrial visitors sharing tech with humanity. But the archaeological evidence tells a very different story. There is absolutely zero credible proof supporting Atlantis or alien involvement. What the evidence actually establishes is a profound reality. Ancient Greek engineers were simply far, far more capable than we ever gave them credit for. Part 5. The Real Mystery. When we strip away all the sci-fi myths, we're left with a macro-level truth that is, frankly, even more unsettling. The Antikythera Mechanism isn't just a cool artifact. It's a mirror reflecting the extreme fragility of human progress. It proves that technological advancement is not always a straight line upward. Sometimes we take massive steps backward. So the crucial point is that history is absolutely filled with tragic losses of infrastructure and knowledge. Think about libraries holding countless volumes of wisdom that just burned to the ground. Once thriving cities completely disappeared beneath the earth. Entire, highly complex civilizations collapsed. This mechanism survived purely by accident, encased in mud at the bottom of the ocean. It really makes you wonder, if this one extraordinary machine survived by sheer luck, how many thousands of other brilliant inventions didn't? In the end, a rusted lump of bronze lying beneath the sea turned out to be one of the most extraordinary artifacts ever discovered. It doesn't prove an impossible sci-fi conspiracy. It just proves that reality turned out to be incredible enough on its own. The people who came before us were brilliant, mathematically gifted, and deeply innovative. The real mystery isn't aliens. It's simply how often history underestimates them. Which leaves us with this final, lingering thought. If a society over 2,000 years ago could build a mechanical computer to track the heavens, and then completely forget how to do it for a millennium, how much knowledge has humanity actually lost? Thank you for joining me for this explainer, and I hope this question stays with you the next time you think about the ancient world.